Okay. I'm just gonna let it capture. Um, hmm. Oh man. Whoa. God. Whew. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh my God. Holy crap. I can barely move my neck right now. Yes. Come on. Hold it. Separate from the ego. Oh, separate from the ego. Come on. Camera's on, but it can't matter. Whew. Next 8 episodes, no words. First 12, words, very specific plan. Next 8, beginning a week from tomorrow, a week and a day from tomorrow, beginning in 9 days. Now we will be on Saturdays. I have to have some verbal. The podcast, so we're weaving that in. So the verbal, okay. On Friday, we turned the camera on for no words, only music. Admittedly, with no speakers, my speaker system died. Because the energy will definitely take a shift, my prediction is. Because I'm not only going to replace the minimal speakers I had, I'm not going to just replace the minimal speakers that I had, but the goal is to rig up at least these 2 rooms with just another step up, a notch or 2 up in terms of quality. I did not know. Right now, what time is it? Let me get a timestamp. 1:15 p.m. on Thursday, September 17th, 2020. Whew. Minimal the number of times in 2020 that I have been called to turn the camera on. That's mostly due to the fact that when one puts oneself out there in the physical, it's a definite another layer beyond the voice, beyond a written word. For me, I kind of have tiers of energy exchanges. And then there's tiers within those tiers, but general level, connecting with the word, which the podcast has just been the word, and the voice. So the first 2, the word and the voice. Adding the video and the physical is, a real extra layer of putting oneself out there, especially when combined with the word and the voice being associated with words and opinions and viewpoints that are still very much in the minority, in no small way. Huge minority numbers-wise, but a vast moving, momentum building, energy-wise. So while I'm in a minority number-wise, I am in a quickly increasing majority of energy at all. But keeping your eye on that ball in a world that has become all about numbers, that's why these times need more people like me simply sharing their take where they are in the world right now. And there are a lot of voices speaking to the alternative story of reality that is equally as real as the one being portrayed in the mainstream world, but not given the same opportunity, the same mode to spread as quickly. There's a lot of people focusing on that, and super important. For me, I'm more focused, everything I kind of came here, my part on the team, if you will, is to be really giving energy and bringing the vision to life. Like literally and metaphorically, bringing the vision, what has not yet been experienced en masse on this planet, bringing it to life, if only through the example of Allison's story. But putting Allison's story out the first time, when I tried to do it and follow this calling, was so young spiritually, so naive, no discernment, 7.5 years ago, and it almost destroyed me. Meaning, I do not share anything now without a ton of conscious consideration. Everything I share publicly has to meet a certain bare minimum energetic criterion for me to open myself up to 99.99% of the energy outside of me that does not get me, understand me, or see me, but at a limited perspective. They have Allison casted in their world in a very hyper-focused way, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, I'm just saying I don't have a lot of physical reflection of this greater, remembered, spiritually guided oneness through the Allison character living version of myself. The place, the environment within which I do experience the greatest at all opportunity energetically to shine as bright as I came here to shine and be and do what I came here to be and do in this vessel is within the Iron Man world. Tomorrow's episode for the podcast, episode 12, the last one of a specific chunk that I laid out in the very first episode, the week it launched officially on July 4th in my head, but back then I had them done days early because I was nervous about capturing any one week because they're all recorded in the moment. In the moment they're recorded. I laid out the first 12 episodes. June 30th, I think, is when the first one technically became available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Spotify. And I did not know until today how and in what direction and how to go with episode 13 forward, starting next week. It's a week away. So before I had 12 weeks planned when I set out, by virtue of the title and the personality or personalities around whom I knew the episode would revolve. That was all that was decided, but that was a big thing for me for each episode. That gave me plenty to work with, if you will, in the moment of the recording. Because I can share any one story from my life infinite number of ways. Every time I tell a story, even if it's 98% similar, it is never, ever 100% the same story. What I'm drawn to pull, what parts of it I'm drawn to focus on. The message of any one given story that I've repeated is always likely the same or similar, but the way, the details, and how it's shared is unique to that moment. And what I long for, if I can actually know for certain who my audience is, which is why I want to do in-person sharings, engagement, speaking. It's not a speaking act, it's a creating with storytelling experience. Unique to Allison's experience of whatever it is to which she's speaking. And ideally, having people in the audience that have been with the people and or parts of the events that she's recollecting. But definitely never talked to her about how she was experiencing those events beyond the surface experience of it. We have a surface-based world, and I am anything but. I've never been surface-based. I've always gone deep, super deep, and most people don't like to go deep. Because deep in their head reveals the dark, and yes, while that doesn't have to be bad. Revealing the dark makes the light even brighter. It's the complement, beautiful complement, the power of paradox that is these times. And we need every voice speaking through their uniqueness about their place in these times, through their filter, admitting the parts that are their filter and identifying the greater truths that they feel represent greater truth for every being, whether you want or are able to see it and believe it that way. Because that has been portrayed and really mixed up to humanity across the globe for hundreds, if not thousands of years, not hundreds, thousands of years. We have not been given the full picture in order to make our choice, a more educated choice. You need, to make an educated decision in the 3D dimensional experience of Earth. every decision has arguably a bare minimum of necessary information that one needs in order to have a successful chance of making a decision that they're intending to make, that has the result that they're intending to achieve with that choice, with that decision. And we have been not given the information we've been gotten has been purposely manipulated and controlled, and all you gotta do is follow the damn dollar. Follow the dollar. And rest assured, that world is not, at a minimum, it's not the whole story. And all I'm here to do is share another version, a greater version of the story, if only through the character of Allison. Being attached to Allison only with the awareness of using her character to have the furthest ripple effect of positivity and love out in the world as possible. And knowing that everybody experiences their version of me. But now I can go out in the world as a more complete version of myself and understand when I'm experiencing a reflection that agrees to see me that way and when I'm not. And that has come with some very, 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 very painful reflections that I've accepted without knowing that I was accepting them when I never wanted and never would have consciously accepted them. And most of those experiences and lessons have come with the relationships that are the closest to me, making them almost unbearable in pain. And that's what happened when I first started innocently sharing from this complete, authentic, unafraid self 7.5 years ago. And that is why I do not and have not easily come back to sharing this again as publicly as I feel I'm being called. If only because of the experiences I've had laid out in the first 12 episodes. I did not experience the vastness of what I've experienced in this life thus far accidentally. Long before I was consciously aware of it, Spirit, God, the universe, the cosmos, all that is, whatever you want to call it, was guiding my life. And to a high degree, I have always been okay with that. But it took me a long time, late 30s, early 40s, to really understand what it was to live in the third dimension with something beyond me guiding it. Really long time, comparatively. But now I know, and how and what version of me I put out in the world, there is a bare minimum that I'm going to accept. Like, if you can't agree to see this version of the story like this, then, hey, no, I get it. I don't need you to. I just want to be out in the world with people consciously agreeing for how I'm seeing it in my role in their story, if you will. And Iron Man is, tomorrow's focus is going to be a really, real, hyper-focused way to provide an example. And I still don't know how and what's going to come through, but I was not guided to record this today, the day before, accidentally. And at a minimum, I know that one of my original ideas from 7.5 years ago was a dance blog, a daily dance blog. At a minimum, we're adding for the next 8 weeks, starting on September 19th. No, starting on September 26th. Starting on September 26th for 8 episodes. Something about the audio will be tied to the dancing, and we'll likely record the dancing on Friday and on Saturday, because right now I don't think my podcast allows video. So at least I haven't figured that out yet, so it's going to get woven into my YouTube channel, the storytelling, if you will. And it's like another way, and then the words are going to come next, almost simultaneously with the establishment of the website for Ripple 2020. I actually want to have an establishment of a website dedicated to Ripple 2020, the establishment of a website dedicated fully to the podcast, Best Damn Reality, and I've had for years the intention of updating and revamping my own individual website, which is years and years out of date. I haven't really given my website hardly any attention at all since 2014, like long time. So that's enough of what I wanted to capture, I think, for today. This is my first day off this week. Been working a ton at the farm because of the departure of somebody whose role I had to take over, a role I've served in before and tried to leave a year ago. The fact that I'm back in that role, I do not believe is accidental, but we're going to have to wait to see exactly why and for what purpose that's all come back into my world. And of course, that is a choice I'm making because during these COVID times, my planned year through Ironman, an unprecedented year I had planned. In fact, I was supposed to be departing for Seattle today. And if you've listened to the first 12 episodes, episode 3, well, actually, episode 3 was about Australia, but when I think of Seattle, I think of my experience in Australia. It just has this frequency that I don't experience when I'm living in Florida. Florida's a very different purpose why I'm here, but part of my soul is definitely in Seattle, and I was supposed to be there for an event starting today, and I definitely had an extended time that I was planning to have there because I have not been there since 2016. So yeah, very different year, all happening because of COVID, of course, and me being guided to share a very different version than what mainstream is sharing about these COVID times, and even different than the alternative storylines being shared, the greater truth, if you will, that's being shared by an increasing number of YouTubers and on other platforms. Beyond that, it's different, it's the same, but it's sort of beyond that because I'm speaking more to how this world's going to look after this huge shift, where all the existing systems are being dismantled, but there is another new system that has been building for decades to take the place of this corrupt one. And what the world looks like in this new system, holy shit, that's what was calling me when I first started guiding my company. So I've literally been preparing for this full-time, every day, all day, with every choice, every action for 8 years. And so it's still really strange to give myself permission to live it, not even talk about it, just live it. So I do think that if I guide this next segment, 8, and it is purposely working our way to 4, 12 segments, 8 segments, and then the next one is I won't ever present a piece of work in less than 4 pieces of work. Like a greater piece of work will always, the bare minimum will always have 4 parts because, you know, my thing in 4 and balance, and it's all about a rebalancing. So the next segment after that hasn't been revealed yet. But I have strong inclinations of what I think it is, but I'm wide open to let the 8 after the 12 help determine where we go with the 4. And through all of it, it's becoming less and less attached to the character. I'm using Allison, and Allison is willingly being used by my higher self. And I'm writing my story, my movie script in a certain way, and everybody is open to join, but they have to have a bare minimum energy, fucking for real, where they are really able to hold complete space without judgment and criticism and room for the best version and able to reflect and project that. And if and when they get caught in the judgment, criticism, you know, it's just, I don't want to go off on that tangent, but there's a bare minimum, you know, and there's a lot of people out there who think they're engaging in the world without judging and criticizing. And like I said, after a lifetime of judging myself and criticizing myself at a gold medal level, I know what it feels like. And I don't have to prove that I'm feeling that to somebody else from whom I'm feeling that. I just prove it by keeping very very clear boundaries with anybody and everybody with whom I don't feel a genuine depth of honest, open connection from our higher selves, from the oneness. And that's rare in numbers. And so the whole thing is really, I just have to keep going. And this, even what's been captured today, I haven't juggled, it's been a long time since I've allowed the energy to flow like this. Almost, I would say, arguably over a year. So this is going to take some weeks to get courageous enough. So it's a good thing that no one's watching. Because there's nothing that helps you break from the ego more than putting yourself out there with an intent and a greater purpose in mind for the attention that you're feeling you desire. It's not for this adulation and pat on the back, but I totally understand how it looks like that. And like I said, there's no greater practice to make that legit for real, where clearly I'm not doing it for the adulation because I'm putting myself out there in ways when there's literally only single-digit people, single-digit one-hand number of people tuning in. So it is sort of putting it out there and not being attached to what that any piece of work, podcast, dancing, is going to serve in the future, but yet knowing it's got huge intent and purpose behind it, because I'm the only one that can speak fully to my intentions and my goal with any piece of work. But in order to really connect with it, it's going to take time. And most people, they don't want to take the time to slow down, and they just aren't ready yet to hear and agree to see a story of thriving and love and cooperation, because the conditioning has been so deep to be motivated by fear and competition and lack, as opposed to being inspired by love, abundance, and cooperation. So we shall see, but thanks for watching, if you did.